dramatic. All right, we go live soon. Getting everybody in. We already seen all the comments. Hello, hello, hello. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Mexican Soccer Show, an all-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football and everything else that goes along with the drama, the craziness with this, beautiful sport that we cheer along. Let's go. It's Lizzie in the East Coast,
Hello.
Florida. How are you? I know it's late for you, but thank you for joining and thank you for being a part of the Mexican Soccer Show once again, Lizzie.
Of course, it's never too late to talk all things Mexican national team, especially on roster day. So,
Yes. Saying hi to everybody on the stream already. Giovanna Sanchez, always the first one. Start the stream. She said, this is going to be good. Yes, this is going to be good. And I think Amy might be joining us soon if she gets on. But I know she's got a lot to do before leaving to Qatar. So she might have to not jump on. But yeah, se armó. Saying hi to Elche 420. Aaron Pinedo, let's go. Giovanna Sanchez, how you feeling? We saw Santi coming, but Lainez. All right, let's just jump right in. I mean, this is just like you said, Lizzie. It's list day. We knew this was going to come out 12 p.m. on Mexico City. Everyone's excited. I mean, not that we were excited, but we're just like, let's get this over with. So many different people tweeting out things. Official list already come out. And even at the end, surprises. Don't worry. Like all these different journalists had their own list or had their own sources, and even myself, that I wasn't like too crazy about tweeting out. But we finally got it. The 26-man roster came out. So just your overall kind of in the last 24 hours with the list, Lizzie, how are you feeling?
I think the word is overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed yesterday just by the reports coming in. Lainez won't travel. Santi will travel. Santi's here. And then this morning, waking up to the video that Lainez was reporting for duty at Girona. So a lot of confusion, a lot of mixed messages. But at the end of the day, I think I was just excited to get that official list and get in.
Excited?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think people were going to riot either way. There was definitely some missing figures. Like, for example, today was the first day I've seen that amount of people defending Eric Sanchez for not making the list. So I think people are going to be upset no matter what. Not to say that I personally wouldn't have made changes to the list that was announced.
This is your perfect list. Lies, Lizzie. We've gone over it every weekend. We'll go in and talk about Diego Lainez or Piojo. Just to set up how it was, and if you weren't paying attention on Twitter or you have other things to do, not just follow the national team. Yesterday came out Diego Lainez and Santi Gimenez would not be on Tata's final list. We accepted it. Okay, fine. People like Alvarado, Medrano, Ruben, everyone that's close just said, yeah, we're getting the confirmation, right? I got confirmation too. Okay, I was all right to tweeting it out, and I tweeted it out. Here we go. This looks like it. But Santi Gimenez, and like you mentioned, and Lainez, we're still going to travel. And reports said that Lainez wasn't going to travel. And in the middle of the day, and then in the morning, we saw Santi Gimenez join, and also Diego Lainez join, which kind of gave us a little bit of hope. And I'm pretty sure all the journalists that said these two guys were out because people have their sources inside the national team, whether it's with Hilero or a coach, I don't know, somehow. Like they're told 100% this player's in. And I was told that Diego Lainez is 100% in from like a week, 2 weeks ago. So I was always kind of like, no way. No way if it's Piojo. Then we saw Santi get here early in the morning. And then we saw Diego Lainez get in early in the morning. And you just kind of started hoping, why would they come if they knew that they were not going to be part of the list? Lizzie, Is there some sense that, I mean, this
Um,
looks bad? Were you confused? What's going on? Did it give you hope?
it didn't personally give me hope. I think there's a lot of confusion going around and a lot of people demanding a sort of transparency. I'm part of the team that at this point in the stage, it's not a right that we have. We don't need certain explanations. And then the reports saying that Lainez left upset, that Santi's still with the team. I don't know. I think everyone's trying to get their little bit of information and it can be contradicting. So at this point, I would just take things as is, which is Lainez and Santi are not on the list. With whether they're with the team, whether they were informed before or not, we will not know. No matter who reports it, no matter which journalist comes out with the exclusive, nobody knows 100% what happened. And I think speculating on the matter is to some extent disrespectful
Yeah.
because I personally am not a fan of spreading news or spreading information on someone's feelings until or unless Diego Lainez or Santi comes out and speaks about the matter. I think everything else is speculation
Yes.
and an attempt for an exclusive. However, I think being with the national team was done on purpose. I don't think a play a técnico like Tata Martino would just bring them for false hope. It's
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I do want to say it is speculation on my end. I just like to say that I don't believe it was done with the intent of hurting a player because I don't believe that's what the Mexican national team is based on.
I don't know. I really don't know what to believe. Let me try to get on the Tata brain, which everyone will think that I'm somehow, a Tata lover, because I got a lot of hate on Twitter already that anything
Me
Tata does.
too.
I was like, oh, you're sticking up for him. He should, I if what I think happened was Diego Lainez, Santi Gimenez they've always told this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Raul needs to get better for you to get in, Santi. And Diego Lainez, it's you and Piojo. That's
Right.
it. And until the very last training, which is this morning, you're gonna show up and you're part of the team. We're gonna call you. We need you to be here. And I want to tell you myself. And I think with the news breaking, because if you think about it, if no one knew about what happened yesterday, Diego Lainez would come into camp and players would be told who was happening and whatever meeting they had. They had a close practice,
Yeah.
and it's part of his duty to be called up for that 31-man list to
Yeah.
become to the very last training. I
Yeah.
think that was it. They were supposed to schedule those flights. I know from experience they get booked a long time in advance. And what is Diego going to go say no? And when he's flying the night before, what is Santi going to say no when he's flying the night before? Even though they know it sucked that it broke, and maybe I would hope that they would have found out not from the press, but I think Tata and team is what I'm hoping they just did this. If not, if it comes out that they weren't told and they were told in the morning and they knew by whatever, then okay, that'll come out and that sucks. The fact that
Yeah.
everything gets leaked out.
I agree. No, I agree with what you said, and I think there needs to be a larger focus that no player is larger than the team. And if you were asked to report going over being with the national team players who will be traveling to Qatar, I think it's a sign of respect, personally, seeing, and I assume they were told before, but seeing Santi travel, especially Santi, because I definitely think he knew what his situation was.
Hmm.
I'm a little bit more hesitant on Lainez, but I think Santi knew exactly what his place on the team was. And reporting to Hirona, being with the group right before leaving, I do think it's a sign of respect to a club or a team that you want to be a part of in the years to come. It's not a momentary decision. I think you're investing in a team, you're investing in a future, and you're representing a country. And with that should come a sign of respect, whether you're in Qatar or not. And I've seen several players who don't make the list come out and cheer on the ones that do. And I just think that proves the type of nation that we are. And that's exactly why I say I'm excited about this list. I think at the end of the day, these are all players who have given their
Yeah.
all to be on it. Whether I agree with their ability, whether I would play them or not, we can't disagree on the fact that each and every one of them have worked so hard to be where they are. So before
Which
I kind of criticized, and I did, and I will continue to on the field. However, I am excited for the players for making their dreams come true.
the chat's going off. Will Santi switch to Argentina in the coming years? He can't. He already played official games, so
No exist.
that's a no. Giovanna, again, I'm fine with Lainez being left out, but not much Santi. A lot of people
Which is
are all the way around. They're fine with Santi being left out, but not it's not
yeah,
with Lainez. Um, I've seen players go to camps without with knowing that they weren't going to play. When we were at the media day, we talked to some players, and it was about the unity. From what I was told, some players, Tata asks them to come, even if you're injured, even if you're not playing, even if you're not going to get any minutes. Come be a part of my trainings. Come be a part of the team. And he's asked that for this player, so it doesn't surprise me if maybe at the end, Diego and Santi showed up, be a part of that unity, and then his part. So at the same time, not really good optics, and then now criticizing Tata, and that's where we can say at least, all right, how it was handled, whatever. But criticizing Tata that those two players are not in, I have not found a single journalist or even fan that is like, oh yeah, that's fine.
right.
Way before in like maybe 2014 when in 2010 when there's some players that didn't make it, or 2014 when other players didn't make it. I think Rodolfo Pizarro in 2018 was better, and people were kind of mad because he was coming up. Uh, you know, there were people that at least would be like, well, I can see why. I haven't seen a single fan that's kind of like, yes, Santi Gimenez should not be called up because of Funes Mori being injured, and now coming back because of Raul Jimenez still not 100%. Which at the same time, him leaving to go get treatment over the weekend, getting a shot, Wolf saying it's okay. So it's just again, I think 3 Mexican soccer shows ago I said that, or maybe a month ago I said, no, Osorio was pretty much hated more going into the World Cup than Tata Martino. I think Tata Martino right now,
Yeah.
from fans, by far is being hated.
Yeah, I do think so. I do want to point out that I feel like since probably 2006, maybe there's been drama in what is the
First,
Mexican
yeah,
national team and who's included and who's not. I mean, we saw Mundial that no cuatemos, and I think there is always going to be drama. I think, unfortunately for Tata Martino, we're at a point where there's a lot more outlets for toxic environments to be developed and to flourish, and I think that's the tendency at the moment. When I say, and I think it's been the case for you, when I say I receive hate because people say I'm completely biased and support Tata Martino, it's just purely because I'm not completely against him. So if I'm not against him, I'm for him, which is again not the case in my end, and neither is yours. At To some extent, we're neutral. So unfortunately for Tata, it's just a lot of negative environments for him.
yeah.
And I know we're going to dive into it. There's a lot of thoughts on Santi, on Lainez, on those included and not, but there's just so much to talk about there. I have so many thoughts. Just so
Why do you all think Linus doesn't play with his club? Why doesn't he start for his team? Coaches have come and gone. None have started him. Only Pellegrini for like 6 months. Is it his
That's a
attitude?
great point and something I brought up and gotten hate for.
Yes, it's true. I mean, at this point where we see Linus when he comes in, he's disruptive. No, he's not getting. He gets goals. He makes an impact when he comes in, and maybe we have just been wanting this young player to flourish, and there's been these goggles of this is going to be the next Messi, which some people
Are we
jokingly
diving?
tweeted, and it's true. If it was La Volpe who said that he should be going to Europe, Piojo said he should stay in America. Then he moved over, and just like you're saying, Pellegrini is the only one. Braga, he finally got a goal, and I think his second league goal of the year. And maybe there's something we're not seeing at the same time,
Yeah.
but he is going in the national team and scoring and putting up great performances. I do think that, okay, for example, Diego Lainez in the Olympics, I don't think he did a lot. And maybe
No. Yeah.
Maybe he does get lost, and we're just not seeing it. But at the same time, I think that conversation of Piojo Alvarado, even though you and I both really, really, I like Piojo, you like Piojo,
Yeah.
good for him.
Yeah.
But if I had to put between both of them, even though our love for Piojo
Well, here's
is
the thing.
there,
Here's the thing. I think when comparing a player and like head to head when it comes to Piojo versus Lainez, I think yes, Lainez tends to shine a little bit more. But what I think gave the edge to Piojo was Lainez's limited range. Piojo has the ability to come in and play as a winger, play as a false number 9, and as we know, Tata prioritizes diversity on the field and
Mhm.
a player that
He
can
said it.
on many different roles. And in a World
Piojo was a
Cup,
number 9. He said he could put him as a
exactly, and
number 9.
we saw him play against Paraguay in that way, and he did well. And we know that on the right, he can connect with several different players. So I think in a World Cup setting, you definitely do need a player that can give you range, that can give you differences, that if you suffer a couple injuries, that can come in and be plugged on the field and on the attack wherever you might need that player. And I don't think Lainez has that capability. I think he's great at what he does, but he's limited in that way. And I, for one, hope that in the years to come before 2026, we see him flourish and we see that ability for him to come and be able to do different things and what a coach asks for. I do think when he's given the ability, he has a potential to shine. But when you're thinking about a very limited 26 player roster, you're going to go for that one that gives you several different options rather than the one that you're going to put in for 10 minutes in the wings that can maybe bring you a spark or not. Again, when comparing a player face to face, maybe Lainez takes the edge. But when you're comparing it in a World Cup setting where you need so many different things from a player, I think Piojo is that guy for Tata, where he can just let his diversity and just range of skill shine.
Okay, I will buy your argument that Piojo could do more for the national team. But again, you could not find a place for Linus in the 26-man
Oh no,
box.
you can. No, you 100%.
Like
I'm
that's what
taking
I'm saying. Like,
the
okay, fine.
argument.
And I don't know if it was really Linus and Piojo. I mean, we'll
If
never
it
know if that
was,
was.
I understand why Piojo made the squad. However,
But
if you're asking me
fine, but
personally,
then 26 players and you still cannot take a guy
oh no,
like
I, for
Diego
example,
Lainez.
like personally speaking, I would have replaced Luis Romo for Diego
Luis
Lainez.
Romo,
But
Charlie Rodriguez, who hasn't done a lot in the national team. Like I feel like that there's a lot, and even and I'll say this, even Antuna. If you're saying that there's only one person that can give you one type of player, and is Antuna can only do one thing.
yes, but he trusts him to do that thing.
True,
And
I give that. That's Tata's
he's
guy.
closest to what, in his mind, to what
Yeah.
Tecatito was. So, like, Diego Lainez, for me, definitely had a place in that 26 player roster, would have taken the spot of Luis Romo in like what was the whole grand scheme of things. But in the idea or the way it was planted that Tata said either Piojo or Lainez, I understand the decision.
I don't understand the decision.
I mean, overall, yeah, like I 100% would have included him. I
No,
think
no, I
also
get it. This is
the
this is
choice
why
for
you're here,
Raul
Lizzie, because you
would
could
have
give
been
us a little bit of a all right. This is where I no, we've said it. He even said it. I mean, he was. It just goes at the end, and then the Santi Gimenez and Raul Jimenez. Raul from the very start, from when we talked to him in LA, said I'm going to be there 100%. So for those that are asking, Raul should just step aside. Can you imagine like you going
no,
to another World Cup? And even if I'm going to step aside because I'm not 100%, it's not going to happen.
no.
But at the same time, if we don't see him play against Sweden, or because he's hurt, still not 100%, he doesn't play against Poland. What, you're going to put him against Saudi Arabia, which is the rumors that are like that's the game that he's going to come in for one game.
Right.
That's where I'm just kind of like, you're not bringing in a healthy Raul Jimenez for Santi Gimenez. So
No, I think it'll be telling, not interesting. I think it'll be telling whether he plays or not against Sweden on Wednesday. And from there, what we see, I think if he's bringing him, I think he's healthy enough to play, and he should be healthy enough to play against Poland, like right from the start. Now the Santi talk, which can get controversial. I don't know if you want to dive into it just yet, but we can.
Yeah.
All right. I have thoughts. I agree. I think Santi Gimenez is having a fantastic moment. He's doing great in Europa League. He's thriving with Feyenoord. He left Liga MX with Cruz Azul mid the Apertura as the leading goal scorer. But I think that we cannot overlook that his debut with the national team was in 2021. Such a short time ago. While I understand why people want him, his time with the team has been so extremely limited. And now we are talking about him as a third choice. Third in Tata's head, or had you brought him on as a fourth striker. Mm-hmm. So I think in a team with a system that plays with one striker, he still wouldn't have seen time on the field. Now, we just can't ignore the fact that he hasn't been a huge part of this team as Raul Jimenez has, as Henry has, as Funes Mori, barring injuries. And I do understand that trajectory. I'm personally, again, and I do want to say, I would have chosen Santi Gimenez because people think I'm biased and I don't like him. I would have personally brought on Santi Gimenez over Funes Mori with a personal decision.
Yeah, that's where everybody's at.
I would have brought him over. However, I still think if we're talking hierarchy, he was very low on that list. With a system that plays a 1 number 9, he still wouldn't have seen time. With a healthy Raul, if he's healthy enough, it would have been Raul, Henry Martin, Santi. Wouldn't have found time on the field. He deserves to, but he wouldn't have seen time on the field. No, realistically speaking, he wouldn't have seen time on the field. Now, I agree. He should be on that list rather than Funes Mori, who I don't believe will also see time on the field. However, I do think given Tata's mentality, it's been a very, very short cycle for him. It's been 2021 was his debut. He didn't even form part of an entire, like a complete tournament. No Gold Cup, no Nations League, no CONCACAF qualifying cycle. He's been great, and he has a great moment and a great career ahead of him. I know, it's controversial.
Europa's leading scorer.
I understand, I do, but
someone in the chats, Guardado debuted with the national team 6 months before the World Cup.
That was a different story. I don't know. I think if you play with 1 number 9, even at this moment, I didn't think he was going to be the starting role.
Yeah, look, I get it. And again, we're giving you the reasons what Tata is bringing. We're not giving you our reasons.
Personal reasons.
So for anyone that's listening, Lizzie and I do not want Santi Gimenez to not be on the list.
Yeah, that's important to say.
Lainez to not be on the list. Take it easy. Take it easy. We're trying to figure out what Tata was thinking, and Tata gave us little nuggets in the last press conferences.
Yeah.
Right when he said, Santi Gimenez, how many minutes is he getting? Yeah. What has he actually done in minutes? I'm the one that gave him the opportunity to come in the Moleros, and I have great hierarchy. And he's got the hierarchy. We have Henry, who's been there, getting us out of trouble against Jamaica in the qualifiers. We have him score. So again, we're trying to figure out the reasons as to why Tata chose him. Personally, Izzy and I don't think anybody in the Mexican Soccer Show and anybody on the chat would have something missing. So, we get it. We get it.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing to come to terms with, but I personally did see it coming. I think a lot of people did, especially when Tata Martino came out and talked about hierarchy and the list where Santi came in 4th place, not trumping his first 3 choices. And he made it extremely clear in several different press conferences that he was not taking 4 strikers. So by that measure, and I'm not great at math, he was going to be cut from that list unless Jimenez said, I'm not healthy enough. So I don't think it's a great decision. I personally would have brought him on that list, maybe put him to play. Again, I do think if he was included on that list, in Tata Martino's head, he still wouldn't have seen time on the field, which is a completely different mistake, but I don't think he would have seen time. So then it bears the question, are we all rioting against a player who, had he made the squad, wouldn't have played?
Yeah. No, that's it. All right. It is time for our Panini segment. And I want to get your reactions on this. I did a quick little poll after today's announcements. Actually, it came out around like an hour ago. Mexico will play 3 games and go home, make the round of 16, quinto partido or semifinal. Lizzie, I feel like I'm going to do this poll again the day before or maybe after the Sweden game and get closer. But right now, I'm really surprised that 50% of people say we're going to go play 3 games and out. And I wish I would have done this poll maybe 2 days before the list came out. But does this list give you no hope?
I think
to get out of the group?
A reflection of the toxic environment around the fan base at the moment, rather than our ability on that roster. I've heard way too many people say this is our worst team in 80 years. I beg one of those people who say that to name the roster at like 80 years ago. I personally, I voted for make the round of 16. I think we will, and then we're gonna fade away into.
And then we're gonna go against France.
Yeah, and then they'll beat us, and we'll bow out respectfully. Take that bow, and then really just focus to 2026. But this poll, if anything, is a reflection on the mood at the moment, rather than what I think our roster is capable of.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think I'm kind of surprised that somebody would say the semifinal out of 722 votes. If you have not voted, I need to get to 1,000 and make it official. So if you have not voted, go to my Twitter and check this out and vote. But the 6% out of 700, whatever that number is, that's like 20 people or so that are cool with the semifinal. Quinto partido, 11%. I would have thought maybe people are like, we'll make it out. But no, 49% are saying that. So that is our... That's just kind of crazy. Looking at the chat, what does everybody say? Let's see. Look, already, I love Lizzie's positivity. That's what's coming out. So
thank you so much.
I wish for semifinals, and but realistically, I don't believe Mexico will make the 5th game.
That's realistic, yeah.
Yes.
And if recent history has taught us anything, that is definitely realistic.
Need that 6% reveal themselves so we can get them help. All right. And right here, I think, let's see, it said, I think most people are just mad at the moment. So I'm going to do this poll once again after the Sweden game, see how you guys are feeling. If we're scoring 3-0 against Sweden, people are going to be like, quinto partido. We're so crazy. We're like all over the place, right? Like, but we'll see. I do have to say that, man, there's a lot of people that don't feel really good about this. All right. The list. Here it is. And we'll move out of the way, as you can see.
Here you
Here's
go.
the list. Lizzie, when you're looking at this, and this is kind of something that I want to kind of touch on.
Yeah.
The youngest player is Kevin Alvarez with 23 years old.
I love this argument. I love this argument.
23 years old, when you're looking at at the U.S.
That's an excellent point. Well, that's my other extreme.
I think a young squad. You have other squads, and I don't know when it'll come out. I think 29 is the average age or something like that. But when you're looking at young World Cup squad, when you're looking at the future, somebody said it, Acevedo is going to be 30, Lainez is going to be 26, Santi is going to be 25 or something like in their first World Cup.
I mean, I do want to stress the fact that average age and success has no correlation in the
Yeah.
World Cup. No, and I think it's important to stress out because I do feel like a lot of people were really upset about our age range. And I want to point out the extreme or the other end of this, which is the United States, who have an average age, I believe it was 23.5, if I'm not mistaken, or something around that number. Okay, that's great in paper, in theory, but they have one player with World Cup experience. No other player on that roster has ever been to a World Cup. So if we're talking about leadership, if we're talking about experience, if we're talking about just connections on that field, a younger age range limits you of that. DeAndre Yedlin is the only U.S. men's national team player who's ever been to a World Cup, playing in 2014 because, of course, as we know, they missed out on 2018. I personally don't see a huge problem with age, especially if we're talking about
because they missed out, though.
What?
That's because they missed out. I mean,
right, but still, there's a lot of turnover. No,
if they didn't miss out, they would have been like a lot of players with World Cup experience.
I don't want to say a lot. I want to say at least 2 or 3 more. But
no,
Greg Berhalter has seen a lot of turnover.
There has been a lot of turnovers for sure, but I think there would have been.
I think like Pulisic would have led the attack, but alongside him you have Gio Reyna and Jesus Ferreira, who wouldn't have seen the time of day in 2018.
No, I get what you mean with the. By the way, I don't know if you can read all the little names, so we'll. There it is.
We assume you see the pictures.
Let's say you see the picture. I don't know if it's an argument to say you have to bring young players. It's just that when you do see other countries bring young players, and we kind of talked about it, Lizzie. Yeah. Bringing Acevedo, that was your argument. The very first.
Oh my God!
Right,
I will fight.
Bring Acevedo for it, right?
Yes, but first of all, I do want to make the case that if we're talking about average, hello,
Amy's joining us.
Yay! If we're talking about average, having Ochoa as a goalkeeper severely brings that average up. True. So it's not necessarily a reflection.
The 3 goalkeepers
exactly who aren't going to like Talavera and Cotaro are not going to see time. So,
but it's still the fact that we only have one player at 23 years old.
Like yeah, but your average player is between 26 and 27, which, if we're speaking statistics, there have been records that say that that's your peak age as a football player. You have our midfield that includes Edson Alvarez, who's 25, 26. Guti, who's 25, 26. You have several figures who are very much at their prime in their mid-20s, which I personally find a lot more reassuring than having a 19-year-old lead the midfield with 0 prior tournament experience. Having said that, yes, I was a huge fan of having Acevedo on that roster, but as a third goalkeeper, and he again wouldn't have seen time on the field. No. So,
welcome, Amy. Now are part of our amazing production, joining this discussion. Amy, we talked about Diego Lainez. We talked about Santi Gimenez being snubbed. I'm pretty sure you've seen everything. And then now we're talking about the young players that we have none. There are no. I mean, Kevin Alvarez at 23. Cesar Montes is considered one of the young guys. Like that Cachorro name will still be with him at 30 years old. But your thoughts?
I'm really going to enjoy the 2 weeks that Mexico's in the World Cup to the fullest extent, as much as I can. I'm gonna go positively like Lizzie and just enjoy. I was one of the I forgot the percentage that I saw in that poll. I was in the 3 games, and it's a lot of fun. I will have so much fun.
Were you in the 3 games? Like that's it. Like you don't think they're gonna make it out of the group?
Like I am not hoping that. I've always said that. I don't.
No one hopes it.
Failure. No. But there's people that are like,
actually, you know what? Yes, there are people that say they want 3 and out. I want to make sure Tata gets no credit for anything.
Although to that discourse, to that extremity on the spectrum of discourse, like I can kind of see their point. Does that do I want that to happen? No. Do I see their point? Sort of. And I think that's what this left. It's one thing. I think I heard Lizzie right before I started joining, right? It's one thing to assume, it's another thing to finally see it actually come out officially, and it does leave you with this I don't know, like this realistic, I don't want to say bitterment, but just like, oh, we really are going to go with this system that you have insisted upon this entire time. Like, we should know better than to expect something different, but we did. We did to some capacity. We said, I don't know,
Till the end,
like,
to the very end.
no, seriously, to the very end, literally, that we're like, you know what? Maybe he'll take something. Maybe he'll take something because maybe, I don't know, something will spark in his brain late at night and he'll realize, this is a wonder kid. We've seen a lot of moments throughout this cycle, throughout the 4 years, where you're like, you know what? I think he'll do this. I'll think he'll do that. And he didn't. And he never strayed away from it. To his credit, he's going to keep going on this hill that he's continuing to climb. Now it's just a matter of what will happen.
To die.
No,
yeah. No, that's a good point that you bring up, and seeing, and I don't like usually going down this comparison, but the U.S. men's national team has gone the complete extreme on the other end, having their head coach abandon a system he preached for months ahead of the World Cup, opting for a player on the attack who he's seen in a very, very limited capacity, opting for players to replace other injured, like so much turnover on that squad, and abandoning the principles he set forth during the qualifying cycle. So that on the other end has instilled a lot of insecurity in the fan base. So I think it'll be interesting in the World Cup to see both of the teams' trajectory, to see a coach who insisted and believed in his system when people told him not to, or the fans cried out for something different, and a head coach who completely abandoned what he was supposedly building. Because if we're going down the U.S. men's national team route, I don't ever think Greg Berhalter knew what kind of system he was developing. I don't even think he had one in mind. But that's a whole different story. So I think it'll be interesting to see two very different routes being taken and see how it goes for both.
I can't say it because I don't want to give bad karma to Mexico, but I don't really. What did Gotti say last time? Gotti said like it's a waste of my saliva. Something in that realm. Same thing. Like good luck that team. No, I think it's just very like discouraging right now. It's the feeling of discouragement, because to the point, I guess, even to like the young old veteran discourse is like our veteran, like there's a lot of people, I think maybe a year and a half ago we would be singing a different tune, but like Hector Herrera being on, he was gonna make the final roster. That I don't think there was a doubt in anybody's mind he was gonna make the final roster. But Hector Herrera, as he exists right now, is a very, very discouraging player. And I think that's the general consensus over a lot of these players, where on paper, right, it would make sense to have all these players that he's called up, but the performance level hasn't been to the level that they could be. And that includes Raul, because Raul hasn't played since August. So you're just like,
it kind of goes. It's funny because you are saying, I completely agree. These players that we know played really, really well that are not performing, or Raul, Herrera at top Herrera, it is one of the best players we have. Atletico
when's the
Madrid.
last time you saw when's the last time you saw top Herrera?
Right, we haven't seen it. Funes Mori, back 2 years ago, is getting the record. A great player, and we don't have players like Funes Mori. We don't. And
what's ironic is that what I saw today too, because I mean there's a lot of opinions and everybody's in their emotions, justifiably so, but it's like Raul Jimenez literally hasn't played in months. Funes Mori not in a good place. All of a sudden people were throwing flack at Henry Martin, who maybe not at the national team level, but at the club level is an argument almost like Santi's. Like, he was scoring consistent goals for his club. And yet people are like, it's all over the place right now.
That's where I'm going, where like the players we didn't like, I'll say we as fans' favorites, are actually performing for Tata. Gallardo, right? And is a player that nobody, even to this day, still doesn't want him. People don't want on the national team, because they're just like, we lost against the US with this team. These guys are crap, right? Funes Mori, who scored a goal and looked better than there has been before, right? Tata's guys who are scoring in their leagues.
We're also facing a very low ranking Iraq.
True. But I mean, that's, and it just kind of goes to say, like, people they really want players, and just how everybody's all over the place, right? People are angry, they're upset. Hopefully that kind of goes away. Everything changes on game day when Mexico plays Poland. I really don't think that those people are going to be like,
I would really like to know. That's what I mean. Like I read, like, the rational part of my head is like, I don't see a place where this team as it exists now, not on paper, not in what they could be, not their potential, as it exists right now, I don't see it I don't see them performing at a really great level across 3 matches that sees them get to the round of 16 match. Do I want that to happen? Do I think that some spark exists in Mexico where every time the World Cup happens, like you just said, something great happens? Sure. But do I see that right now? Do I hope to see it in the game against Sweden? Sure. But if we don't see it against the game against Sweden,
we won't.
Yeah, I think Sweden, like, my concern against Sweden is two things. I want to see Raul play, but I think players to some extent are still cautious against Sweden. Nadie va a meter la pierna. No one's going to go for that dive. So I think Sweden will be telling in various different ways, but I don't necessarily think it'll be a good measure of the spark that Mexico can have during the World Cup. And in terms of Iraq, just to play devil's advocate, Ecuador did tie 0-0 against them.
Lizzie, I don't know.
No, bueno, they are a very low-ranking team. Mexico le ganó 4-0, another World Cup.
I don't mind, but the thing is, like, I don't mind the goals that they scored. I'm just saying that they didn't play. It's like when you face, look, as somebody who plays soccer on a consistent basis, it's like when you beat the team that's never played before, right? Did it feel good to score 15 goals against them? Sure. Is that the way that you're going to measure yourself on the grand scheme of things when you're going into playoffs or you're going into more competitive games? Probably not. So that's my argument.
But there is the fact that Ecuador scored 7 goals would have been like, we would have played the other game. See what we mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I don't know. I mean,
also, I think it's very worrying. No, I also think it's very worrying that we're going, even if we don't play that good against Sweden, it doesn't really matter because people are going to want to get in.
No,
we can't have it be.
No. I'm saying that we're not going to play the way that everybody wants us to play because Tata Martino is not going to have these, like, even 6-7 players that'll start, from what I'm hearing.
And also, I think players are so afraid of getting injured, and it was seen, like, in Eredivisie, for example, the top 3 teams, coincidentally, the teams who have the most World Cup bound players, saw negative results the last weekend ahead of travels, just because players, I think, are so hesitant right now of getting that final injury, because it wasn't like years prior where if you would get injured during the last leg of the season, okay, you get to rest for 3-4 weeks before camp even starts. Right now, if you get the slightest of nicks in whatever muscle, you're out for the first game. Like, Mexico kicks off against Poland next week. I don't think you can play to your full extent against Sweden Wednesday. I thought today was Tuesday. On Wednesday. But I do think it'll be telling of a lot of different things, just not the extent to which we can play.
Before 2010, was it 2010? I think so. Mexico played Italy in a friendly. If anybody's old enough, I think Meg said he's been watching for a while. Mexico played Italy, and everyone got really excited after that pre-World Cup game. If you look at Mexico versus Italy in that game, we've seen, I think 2014, the preview, those pre-World Cup friendlies were not that great. I mean, Mexico could win.
And it's also
I think they're pretty bad.
You were also in a very different situation going into.
No, but I think 2014 was like, oh my gosh, we barely made it at repechaje. So yeah. I completely agree.
2014. I thought you said 2018. I'm like 2018.
2018. I don't necessarily. I don't quite remember, but I don't think there was. No, I remember 2010 for sure. Vela scored. It was like everyone watches like this. It looked like Spain was playing for a second. Like, it was really, really good. Everyone got super, super excited. Yes, they're saying Meg was saying. See, I knew Meg would remember. He's old like me. Vela scored against CG Buffon. That's right. But going into the Sweden game, what I want to see is Raul playing. I want to see. This is why you didn't. For us to get just a little bit. Like, if we see Raul scoring a goal, 2 goals, the hustle, be like, okay, just to calm everybody down. Right. But I don't think we're going to get that. and which kind of goes, if there's a theme to Tata Martino and his teams, if we look at what Paraguay did, I feel like things are going to get accomplished. We're just not going to be happy.
But what is accomplished at this
Like,
point?
I think Mexico will get out of the group.
Happy.
Like, I think Mexico will get out of the group playing mediocre football, but we'll get out.
Yeah.
Right? Then we'll not get embarrassed against, like, if you look at what Mexico has done, like in the last World Cup, we just got steamrolled by Brazil. Like, we knew Osorio's team was not going to beat Brazil.
But the error wasn't getting Brazil. The error was a Sweden game. So
yeah, okay. We got. But what I'm saying, once we lost against Sweden, we're like, we're not good.
No, yeah, but the expectation at Brazil wasn't the error, so to speak. Like the error was them losing against Sweden because it was in their hands, and then they.
So, I think Mexico will have a better World Cup than we did 4 years ago. What does that mean? I don't think we're going to get steamrolled by anybody. And I don't think we're going to make that great of a noise. We're like, oh my gosh, this is, if we look at 2014, Mexico beat Germany. We thought we were, it went crazy.
Well, we could have. That's the part that sucks, is that you could have, if you just relax and don't see. That's the BS part.
Germany.
Back at it. Like if he doesn't do what he does against Sweden, like so many different things could have happened. But like I see where you're going, but even then. So what were these 4 years for? To just be
hold on. Let me get what I'm saying.
I do want to also say, barring injuries, I think we were unfortunate. Like,
that is
not where we are right now. That's the point.
There's a reason why we're here. There's a reason why we're here. And again, to my point, I think Mexico will find a way to get out of the group. Will not get embarrassed. It's not going to be like a 6-0 Argentina. It's not going to beat Argentina. We'll, maybe win 1-0 in the last minute against Poland. We'll lose 1-0 against Argentina, and we'll win 1-0 in the last 10 minutes against Saudi Arabia. Get 6 points, right? And then play it and actually maybe like get out in extra time again in the 16. Like, I think, Tata is cautious.
But is what did we gain from that?
No, nothing. Like we didn't get to the Quinto Partido. But
so then this is your prediction to.
It's where we're at. Let's go back to the players we have, and do we really think? We can beat a France, we can beat a Netherlands in the round of 16, or we can, maybe if we get a second or third team that would kind of surprises in that team. So it's like that's where I see Tata's team, which again, or this could all just be bad and we lose against Poland and everybody's right.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I think we're not going to see an extremely exciting result, whether that be exciting for a good way or a negative. I don't think we'll see that either. But hey, like a lot of people praise Tata for taking Paraguay very, very far with the 1-0s or the extra time. So like, I don't know if we'll see that. I'm nervous for this team, but I think I want to get excited. And again, I don't think we have such a bad roster. I don't think so.
I know what you're smoking.
Proven. Yeah. China's not happy with me, so.
Oh, God. No, not at all.
No, 100%. I agree with.
Huiso was a guy saying Canada wouldn't do good in the qualifiers.
I told you did. You said that quite a few times.
I said Canada wasn't going to do well against us, and they did. I was wrong.
I agree with what Garcia FC is saying. This isn't Paraguay. Like my point with, no disrespect to Paraguay at all. I think a national team performing to a really huge level deserves some level of respect to a certain extent. But my point is that after Osorio, right? Because nobody was satisfied with how Sweden went about, and then Brazil, like we were all saying, right? We kind of basically are already praying for a miracle. We thought that was it. You're not gonna do what you did in 2014 in 2018, and then we kind of just said goodbye after the round of 16. Like there's none of that now. But even when he left, because he chose to leave, Osorio chose to leave. We're all like, should he stay? Should he go? He's like, nah, I'm leaving. Tata comes in, and it's like he just, he just won the championship with Atlanta United. He had that run with Paraguay. So there was all these like optimism that something new was going to come. And after 4 years, our satisfaction was going to be to be where
it was too bad.
No.
Tata did well in 2019.
He did, but then he refused to adjust.
But here's the thing: I think there's a huge generational change to be made within La Selección Mexicana. I don't think it was Tata Martino's responsibility, or he had the ability to make that shift. I think it's going to be a forced shift ahead of 2026, which we'll see a very different Mexico, for a good or for the bad. Injuries definitely played a huge role in the shaping of Mexico. Whether it was right to stick on Raul or develop different players is a completely different thing. But I think when talking about the round of 16, y el quinto partido, I think it's important to note that Mexico right now is very much between the 9 to 11 ranking in the world. We are not within top 8. We are, I don't want to say mediocre. We're not top 15. We're 9, 10, or 11. So breaking into that quinto partido, breaking into those to that is difficult realistically for a team that is not at that level yet. Though our expectations as a fan base are way beyond our capabilities and realistically where Mexico stands in the global rankings, I don't think that should shadow the ability that is breaking into the round of 16, which I think we can do this year. But I think that's where we belong at the moment.
Yeah.
Given that we're a selección,
I would say
put us at 11.
I'd put us in the round of 16. I think that's it. Someone said it perfectly. This is where everyone thinks I'm like, oh, we're good enough. Everyone's saying that we're good enough to be I'm just saying that the way that I see things going, I don't think it's going to be horrible, but I don't think we're going to be excited. And whatever
my question is, what comes out of that?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well,
absolutely
nothing. 4 years
the
were
excitement of the moments. No, for
it
example,
is what we have. That's where I'm at.
I understand Amy's point of view, but at the same time, like that 1-0 against Germany, like that brought. I understand.
That was a super effective game. That 1-0. I don't think our end result against Germany. No, you held down a very effective formation to be able to score 1 goal against Germany. Now there's discourse that Germany wasn't as good as they could have been either, and so you're able to.
We spent 3 years with Osorio planning for Germany. Like that was it. Like it wasn't, and after that it was kind of like But like since I said, this is just like college
moments. Like I do think we're gonna get into like that round of 16. Ese es el objetivo, and realistically, that's where our hill ends. But I think the purpose of this World Cup is to give us moments like we lived against Germany. To a certain degree, I think that's what this World Cup is going to be, and I want to avoid sounding like that cliche fan, but like I'm already looking forward to 2026 when we see a forced generational change. And I say forced because I don't think Tata Martino or any other head coach would have dared to take that
World Cup entirely. Let's just focus on, and I'm getting flashbacks of Monterrey where I was struck by a press conference. I was like, you know what? This wasn't even important. 2027 is what matters. No, I can deal with that right now. You had a comment that you wanted to put, Lisa, and I also have an adjacent.
I don't know. It kind of there's so many comments. There's so many comments going on right now in the chat. But Garcia FC is saying, let's just agree that Argentina's winning.
No, I think Brazil.
I agree. I don't think Argentina's winning it.
Here's
what people are saying. I see moments like Mexico, Chile, memory coming.
And I think that's a justifiable thing to prepare yourself for.
You're
looking at mediocre sufficientness. What if it's not that?
No. I'm not saying it's. I'm just giving maybe a projection. Okay, this is what I think is going to happen. Could this happen? I mean, let me tell you this. I don't think we're going to beat Argentina, but I think something can happen. Like I see a moment like Mexico, Chile, memory incoming. If I look back at it, I'm like, the evidence was there. Like
you're picking the less of two evils, basically. You have a mediocre World Cup performance where you didn't do anything extraordinary like you could have in theory, or you embarrass yourself.
Well, no, I'm saying that's how people are feeling. Like you could say, I'm like, all right, I guess this is all that. I don't want to believe it. No. I'm saying that it's going to be a mediocre. I think that these teams are just going to just do everything you need. And then if all of a sudden we get to the quinto partido by tying every game or somehow, like by going to PKs and whatever, and it's like the Paraguay game, like he had, and we get to the quinto partido and it's just boring. Like so, I think Eric said on my Twitter is like if we tie 0-0 and we get 1 point each, but somehow we make it the quinto partido, people are going to be pissed, even though we made it. But so it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. We could end it with let's hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
I'm just gonna hope for the best. I'm not preparing for anything. I'm just hoping
so positive.
I have to try. See, no,
they'll lose to Saudi Arabia. That will be the nail in the coffin for Tata's 10.
I mean, I think he's leaving regardless.
I've been saying you got to believe. All right. So, okay, so let's see. We took a little bit of time today to figure out how we're feeling with the national team. We're going to revisit. Okay. We'll come back after the Sweden game, see where we're at, how we're feeling, and then the day of, and we'll just kind of keep going. All right. So after that first Poland game, how is everybody feeling? And then I think it's going to show. Or Lewandowski scores in the 3rd minute, and then he scores in the 15th minute, and we're down 2-0. And it's over. We lose against Poland. That's gonna be crazy. All right. We talked about the list. We talked about who was not on. Really quick, Amy. The discussion was no youngsters. 23. I don't know if you had your thoughts in there. That only 23. Only Kevin Alvarez is 23 years old. And if we're looking at 2026, I guess we're gonna give those youngsters who are not youngsters anymore. But does having youngsters mean that you could have a better World Cup to you?
I think the only reason it's such a huge discussion right now is what I said earlier. I think because of the level that the veterans have showed, right? Whether it's a lack of leadership, whether it's a lack of actual performance on the field. I know there's been but there's been a back and forth about like Guardado's place on the national team now, especially now that he's kind of confirmed that this is going to be his last World Cup. We had Rafa in 2018 and he chunked us up to the oldest roster by like a good amount. So, like, I think it's such an important conversation point.
Cuauhtemoc in 2010.
What happened?
Cuauhtemoc in 2010.
There's just so many things. I think it's such a huge discussion point right now because you just go, okay, so I think we've been talking about it, and I think the chat has been saying it too. The transition has been non-existent. So
yeah,
who are we preparing for in this tournament? Ochoa, who's gonna play his 5th one. Like,
make a great point.
I don't know. I think if the team was better, like honestly, I think if they performed better and they were in a more secure place, I'd be like, well, we're going to work with who we have, which is a really good set of players. But considering we're not, I think it just adds kind of fuel to the fire of people that doubt Tata and his ways. I don't necessarily mind that there's not youngsters, but I think just the way that all the older players have been performing is the discouraging part. It's the part that's hard to comprehend. But
Ochoa wants his 6th World Cup appearance. Oh, yeah. Te quiero mucho, Ochoa, but yeah, step off after this World Cup. All right. It's been an hour now with the Mexican Soccer Show. Especially, we're not going to go over the game versus Sweden. It's around the same time as last week. I think 12 p.m. Mexico time or 1 p.m. Mexico time. We'll see what Tata fields. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to starting 11. And from what I'm hearing is that rotaciones is going to come back, and we're going to have a lot of rotations for different types of game that Tata will have. There are 3 games in 10 days. That could also take account. The great thing about this World Cup, I would say great, is that there is no travel for players. But again, they're coming out. There's a lot of people are saying injuries. They just played a game, which is a little bit ridiculous. We'll see how everybody feels. It looks like I think the team will fly in on Friday from Girona into Qatar in las instalaciones, which are really, really far away in Doha. So they're going to be way out there. So to be, I don't know. No, I don't know if the Caravanas are going to reach out there. Somebody was asking if we're going to go. Amy and I are heading over there on Friday. We'll, yes, make the 14-hour journey. And we're going to have the Mexican soccer show daily. So all of us that have been a part of it, either one of us will take one day at a time or two of us that are there. Lizzie, you'll be more welcome to join on one of your thoughts on one of the days where you can take off. So stay tuned for lots and lots of content that's coming out from not only Mexican Soccer Show, from X Nation. Also, Lizzie is part of, why did I forget your 90
I
minutes.
remember it, Lizzie, but I'm not going to say it because I want Wiso to remember what it is.
90, yeah, sorry, 90 minutes. I don't know why I went to Copa 90 for like right away. But
people get the name.
R.I.P. Copa 90.
R.I.P. Copa 90. 90 minutes. Lizzie, what will you be doing during the World Cup for 90 min?
So everything and anything. So we're going to be covering North American teams. So personally, I'm going to be spearheading our USMNT and Mexico, obviously, efforts, but I'll be overseeing everything Canada. So following along to CONCACAF in Qatar, but predominantly Mexico.
Awesome. You'll see lots of content come out from X Nation, Amy, myself. So yes, it'll be fun, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, flight. People are missing Tom Marshall. Of course,
we all do, guys. We all
miss Tom. One day we got to make like maybe after be like, Tom, come in and say hello to everybody. He's always tweeting, he's always messaging us on WhatsApp on what's happening. So it's maybe we should have like this is what Tom said about the call up.
Tom out of context. Tom Marshall out of context. We'll just screenshot random messages he sends us. No, Tom's too busy trying to take all the Liga MX Mexican players to MLS. So
yes,
he's got his hands full right now, guys.
He's a scout over at Atlanta, so we miss Tom Marshall. All right, Lizzie, thank you again for joining.
Thank you.
Amy, thanks for joining in. And yeah, lots on the chat. A lot of people watching right now. Please help us share this. If you can go on, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcast or on Spotify, I think you can give us a little rating and we can pop up when anybody goes Mexican soccer. We are the longest Mexican soccer podcast in English. And yeah, we're proud of that. So, all right, the next show.
You said we're the longest, so how tall are we compared to other podcasts?
Sorry, we're the longest running. We are the longest running show. So yeah, let's see. When's the next show? For sure next Monday, but we'll start the World Cup daily soon. So yeah, unless something crazy pops up, like we can just have a crazy show all of a sudden. You're like, by the way, Raul gets injured, and guess who comes on one day before is Santi Gimenez. I don't know. That's the only thing that I can.
Some type of manifesting you're doing there.
No. I don't want anybody injured. I'm just saying maybe he's like, okay, I'm down, and Santi Gimenez comes in. Which ultimately, I know we were supposed to end, but I believe no, it has to be like a real injury. Like Raul can't go. Oh, by the way, I have like what happened to come in. But if there is an injury, we'll see. Cesar saying relax, we saw. No, I'm not saying. Okay. All right. Yes, Naive. We miss Naive. I think Naive is doing also his Rosartera, and he's got his a cool podcast. So definitely listen to Naive, and also Cruz Azul, Máquina Cruz Azul guy is in it, and also I believe Soccer Mexicano was part of it on one of them. So shout out to our friend Naive, and you follow the hashtag Liga MXN, and you can see, I believe, all his posts doing awesome stuff. Our friend Naive. All right, this has been another edition. Gracias a todos. We'll see what happens, and hasta la próxima. Adiós.